All right, good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, March 12th, 2021, and we have some very interesting news to report to you guys today. I kind of took the most significant ones from all over the world and tried to organize them in a way that worked the best, just because, like I've been saying, and I'm not saying this is a good thing nor a bad thing, but there's far less news to cover because even the other global news outlets used to cover what was going on with American politics, and it's still volatile, but not like before, right? So let's jump into it. So first off, I want to address the thing with what Tucker Carlson said about the military. Look, I get what he's saying. Well, let me first report on what he said. He basically said that pregnant women serving in the U.S. military and the outfits that are designed to fit pregnant women are an insult or something like that, or a disgrace to the U.S. military, and it makes us look bad in front of China and things like that. But pretty much saying that, implying that men should be the only ones to serve. Now, I want to present both sides. I don't want to give my opinion on this because I think it's very important for you guys to decide for yourselves. There's one side where the Marine Corps did a study and found that men in general tend to work better together. Now, here's the thing, though. When we say the army, the military, who are we speaking of and what apparatuses? What I mean by that is this. The place where Tucker Carlson may in fact be wrong is that this is not the 50s or the 40s where it was all ground war. You had your mortar bombs and you had your planes that dropped the bombs, but it was mainly ground war. You know what I mean? It was hand-to-hand combat. Things have changed since then. Now, the idea is this. If pregnant women can serve in the military, not on the battlefield, for a bunch of reasons, even the women themselves, I'm sure, wouldn't want to, but if they can serve within the cyber area, the area where they control drones and things like that, look, as long as, and I'm not even trying to be sexist, but it's a biological fact that just like with men in some cases, to be fair, but men don't get pregnant, but in other cases, but when women are pregnant, they have mood swings, right? As long as they can control their mood, just like as long as men can control their mood when, they're in a certain state of mind in the military, if they can control it just as good as men, I don't see the problem. I don't agree with Tucker Carlson's comments. Okay, fine, that's my opinion. I said I wouldn't give it, but now I agree with them in the general aspect of what he's saying, but, guys, in my humble opinion, the way he said it wasn't the right way to say it. Let's look at, for example, and the reason why I say that is because look at Israel. Very strong military. They have a bunch of women serving. So I don't know if Tucker Carlson was specifically referring to pregnant women or women overall. Either way, what he was trying to say didn't come across well. But again, I'm trying to look at both sides here. So I'm not trying to take a side. It's up to you guys to take it as you will. And literally, you don't even, if you want, you don't even have to look at the clip to understand what I'm discussing here. He basically said pregnant woman with the suits to fit the pregnant woman is an insult to the U.S. military. And I think it was something along the lines of, woman serving. He kind of implied and questioned that whole aspect overall, right? And it's been inferred that he may have used the pregnant woman aspect as a bit of a cover. But anyways, the next thing is that Prince William says the royal family is very much not racist. Look, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I saw the clip. He was walking out with Kate and another African-American woman, and I find it interesting. I think there were a couple of them that he walked out with a couple African American or black women, just because, they've never, William and Kate, look, I'm going to call it like it is. They've never been seen with a black, Asian, they've only been seen with white, European, British royal family people. Then all of a sudden they walk out with a couple black people. I think the whole point here is that the royal family would think that, no one's going to question that because they're going to say, the royals are above that, quote unquote. But it's kind of like, look, this may be controversial, but we got to bring it out and say it like it is. Now, maybe I'm totally wrong, but some other people were commenting online saying, how come not just black people, they've never been seen with Asian people. They've never been seen with anyone outside of their own. And then all of a sudden, they bring a couple black people to take a walk with them. You know what I'm saying? Now, for me personally, skin color shouldn't matter. This whole thing about, Meghan and Harry's son being, too dark skin, I have a gut feeling, I'm not going off of any evidence, I have a gut feeling William and Kate said that. I have a gut feeling, low-key, Kate is racist. But that's just my opinion. I want to make that clear, right? I think ultimately, look at what the episodes we do in the afternoon cover. We talk about aliens and stuff like that. And I think when aliens look at this, they say, my God, humans are not ready. We're talking about a whole different species, let alone, they're debating about their skin color. Who cares? Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a bunch of nonsense. And maybe what I've been reporting about how they walked out with the two black women is controversial. Because, people might be saying, Dave, are you trying to imply something? No. I'm calling it like I see it, right? And if they didn't use those two women as, I guess we could say political props, if you want to call it, because the royal families used, Ghislaine Maxwell as a political prop before too. Skin color doesn't really matter, but in this case it does. Then look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, then fuck, it's terrible. But ultimately, look, when William said that the royal family is not racist, that's not true. Look at the history of the royal family. Now, granted, just because you're a grandson of someone doesn't mean you share the same views as what your grandfather did. If we look at, the royals were very close. I forgot the prince's name or the king's name. I think it was King Edward, who was very close with Hitler, if I'm not mistaken. And we look at that and we see Queen Elizabeth. There's some footage of Queen Elizabeth when she's very young doing the Nazi salute and all that. And so, look, all I'm saying is that the evidence is there. The trail of history is there. Not that William and Kate are racist, but, let's be honest. There's a history there of racism. So, anyways. The next thing is that Alexei Navalny's Twitter account had tweeted that he had been removed from jail or prison, and his whereabouts are unknown. I'm not sure if it's his team or his camp that found out he's been removed from prison. What I imagine they were doing is they were trying to keep in constant contact with Navalny from outside of prison, because they didn't arrest Navalny's team. They just arrested Navalny, and I think they detained his wife, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but I think she got off of that. I could be wrong. But anyways, I'm sure they kept in constant contact, and the second they realized there was an off pattern in terms of the communication, they said, holy shit, he's missing. They probably looked into it and found out he's missing. Like I said, Putin doesn't care. He doesn't care. What's going to happen? The leaders of the EU, Angela Merkel and all them, are going to say, well, we denounce this. You should release him from wherever you're keeping him immediately. Maybe he's dead by now. It's not even about that. I'm not trying to encourage Putin. I'm just saying the guy doesn't care. So all these world leaders denouncing stuff, it's all for looks. It's all optics. You know what I mean? So the next thing is that Biden is reopening certain children detention facilities. One in particular that's extremely toxic and would need to be cleaned multiple times a day to even be considered safe to stay in, let alone live in, for the children that are coming to the border from Mexico because they're homeless and things like this, right? Now, here's what's interesting as well. This is the same facility that we got to point it out, the hypocrisy. It's the same facility that Kamala Harris stood in front of before she partnered up with Joe Biden when she was running to be the Democratic primary candidate. This is the exact same location and facility where Kamala said, on day one, this is getting shut down. No one should live like this, whether they're a citizen or not of America. Everyone's human beings. And then guess what she's being told now? Kamala, shut up about that. Don't talk about it. She's dodging the press, all that stuff. And look, she's listening to Biden because she's learning. I can see that. It's very clear with what Biden does. She's always standing in the background. It's very clear, right? He's grooming her and things like that. Oh, that came across the wrong way. But you know what I mean, right? So, long story short, when we see that, look, every single candidate and every single promise will never be kept. I get that. But this stuff is bad. And I would criticize this if this was a Republican. And I'm going to be totally truthful, right? Both sides. Consistent. So, anyways, and this is also one of the sites that the Trump administration shut down because it was deemed to be too dangerous and too toxic, right? Which is interesting. Now, Biden's excuse, not officially, but his thing is, well, where are we going to put these kids? Oh, I don't know. Anywhere except for where they're not going to die of toxins, So, anyways, I mean, look, the U.S. military and all that, they're extremely, even the ICE. ICE is also very resourceful. You don't think they could, I mean, it's terrible, but it's still better than being in a toxic place. You don't think they could slap up some tents for a few nights, then they could put something together? I mean, maybe it's not that simple, but again, this is the BS part of bureaucratic politics and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So, anyways, so let's see here. What's the next thing? Okay. Italy is going to do a national COVID lockdown through Easter. That's what they're planning. Look, if they want to do it, let them do it. That's how I see it. The next thing is that 30 students, this is terrible. 30 students were kidnapped outside of Kaduna City in Nigeria, which is now the fourth mass school abduction since December. Now, look, I don't know the specifics. I don't know. Maybe some of you, I'm sure some of you know better than I do. I don't know if, how can I say, if this is being done for money, for ransom, there's an agenda at play, if there's a certain group trying to take over a certain town or region. I'm not really too familiar with Nigeria by any means, so I'm not going to pretend like I know. But this is, when I see these things, it's just sad and terrible. You know, like you're kidnapping children who probably have nothing to do with the scenario, and even if they do, how much involved could they have been? They're kids. So it's a terrible thing to see. The next thing is that Turkey plans to host Afghan peace talks in April, which is good. Again, peace talks are always good. So again, it's no negotiation and things like that. As much as most of it is probably optics, when the real meeting comes down to play, they know what's going to happen and what's going to be discussed. They have a sort of a pre-planned idea of what's going to go on there, right? Now, the next thing is that a big web investor said that the digital divide is only widening. Yeah, no shit. It's widening. And what does he mean by that? Well, what he means by that is this. For example, on Twitter, everyone said, "Oh, the conservatives, they're being, butthurt, or they're very, their feelings are being hurt, so they're going to go to Parler." The whole thing was, if conservatives, in this case, it was conservatives. If they want to make, or they want to have a place where they can speak freely, or speak in their own way, that's debatable. But anyways, that's not what I'm trying to cover here. Then they should go somewhere else, and they did. Parler. Then Amazon shut down Parler. In theory, look, come on, realistically, we know what Amazon's doing. They're part of big tech. They're at the heart of it. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, the legal argument is, well, we have the right to do it. We're a private company. It's in the contract. We can shut down whoever we want, whenever we want, for virtually any reason we want. And if they don't have a reason, they'll make one up, believe me. So I see that. But again, the divide on the web is only deepening, and it's creating these echo chambers. So if you're a staunch conservative or a staunch Democrat or liberal or centrist or what have you, even if you're an independent, what's going to happen is, because of these algorithms on not just Twitter and Facebook and all that, but on these third-party websites, because the algorithms are getting much easier and easier to implement, believe me, what we're seeing there is we're then seeing an instance here where people are just going to these websites and the algorithms are recommending certain things to them that'll feed what they appeal to. But what's going to happen is you see a very confined and narrow perspective of things in general, right? And that's the problem. And I think either way, that's too much of the problem. I think ultimately, again, the goal is to search for the truth, but that's very debatable as to who, I don't know, you know what I mean? As to the truth is really the one who, anyways. We can argue that the truth is not really the truth, but I'm not trying to get into that right now. The next thing is that Netflix is considering cracking down on password sharing. So some users have been seeing some things on their screen, which is, I guess, a form of a beta test, where it says, if you don't live with the owner of this account, then you need your own account to keep watching. Now, initially, the Netflix executives said they weren't going to bother with that a couple years ago, and then a year ago they said no, still no plans to mess with that. I guess the idea is this: if the IP address or the VPN is different, they can detect that it's a different account or it's a different person in a different household. Now, in theory, when we all sign up for Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those contracts, the super long terms and conditions are that, in theory, it's your account, but you're supposed to be using it only within your household and within the devices in your household, in theory. But Netflix knows the reality. What's going to stop me from, sharing it with a close friend? Hey, here's my password. Like, why not? Now, I don't know why they want to crack down on it. Maybe because so many people are watching that the servers are being overloaded, right? Financially, they seem to have done well, from my understanding. They have debt, but that's generally they accumulate that on purpose because they know they could pay it off over time. But the point is that ultimately it could be a crackdown because their servers are taking a heavy hit. But I mean, again, this is the business you're in. You're in the business of streaming. You better expect to have heavy traffic, and you better expect to be able to operate like that. Now, I'm just taking a guess on that part, by the way, guys. I'm not saying that that's the reason. They're not really giving a legitimate reason, so I don't know. The final thing, which I wanted to say for the very end, because I'm very, I guess we could say, passionate in a certain way about this, but this cancel culture thing, it's look, I'm going to take a stance on this. It's going too far. It's going too far because, look, so for example, a family member of mine came to me yesterday while I'm producing editing some stuff for the show, and he goes, David, did you know that Eminem's trying to be canceled now? Or, people online are trying to cancel Eminem? I go, for what? Right? Because, look, he said some controversial things, but again, 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and I was told, no, they're trying to cancel him for the line from the song Love the Way You Lie from 10 or 11 years ago, by the way, when he said, when Eminem said, I'll tie her to the bed and set this house on fire. Those are the exact lyrics. First off, here's the problem I have. Everyone knows Eminem says these extremely, racist, offensive, not so much anymore, sexist, misogynist, transphobic terms. He's been saying it for years. Everyone knows how controversial he is. But at the same time, it's gone to the point where also everyone knows at this point Eminem is a pretty calm guy. He doesn't believe in everything that he writes in his raps, right? He's made that very clear over and over again. Now, I'm not trying to defend him, but I'm not trying to go against him either. Right? So let's be fair. With that being said, though, if you really want to cancel him, which I don't agree with going for stuff from, years ago, but let's just, let's play ball, which I never will, but hypothetically for this episode, let's play ball, right? Let's see. Let's run with it. You know how many worse... He talked about burying and murdering his mother, like in a song like 15, 20 years later. Of all the lyrics you're going to pick that he said, you're going to pick that one? You know what I mean? And I understand it's, because he's talking about woman. Yeah, but he talked about, like I just said, burying his own mother and murdering her. So I don't, and even other, like, the thing with Mariah Carey, and, we can go on and on. It's going too far, guys. I heard stories, I don't know if it's true, so I'm going to be straight with you. I've heard stories of people losing their jobs because of something their father or mother said, like, 30, 40 years before, like, ridiculous stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's going too far now. We're going to get sensitive for everything? I mean, we look at, Disney, Pepe Le Pew got canceled, Peter Pan got removed from Disney Plus, a bunch of other films because they, promote racism or something like that, or I don't know. But look, the whole point is that in general, I get it. If you want to, quote unquote, tune up or correct some things, I understand that. But now every day it's like I wake up and everyone's just looking for something else to cancel. This is why I say in my afternoon episodes, and on my Instagram social media, if there's aliens watching us, they're saying, listen, these humans, most of them are not ready. You know what I mean? Look, we're a joke. I mean, it's sad to say, but in this case, humans, not just, Americans, Canadians, Europeans, everyone, we're a joke, because the cancel culture thing is worldwide. If you got access to internet, you're part of it. If you engage in it. You know what I'm saying? So anyways... Sorry for the bit of a rant, but I had to get that off my chest because it's going too far. I understand in certain instances where it could be necessary, seriously. But this is too far at this point. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and we'll catch you guys later today. Cheers.